And 10 key markets are UK is a very important market, Germany is a very important market, US is very important, and Nordics, because in Nordics, Finland, Norway, Sweden, they're tenders about no alcohol. Improvement in the technology also. We started 30 years ago with spitting cone column. It's a great technology, but then 6-7 years ago we advanced to low temperature vacuum distillation. It's a much gentler process in the extraction of the aromas as well. So, and then you have a more balanced product because you have a less yield loss, so it's easier to work with that product. So there are many things happening in the category now, and in terms of the technical part and also the
I mean, if I was a producer, right, one of the things before I add or make my, let's say, Sid Shiraz, a non-alcoholic Sid Shiraz, and give it a try,
I like the name.
Yeah. So I would analyze the risk of my reputation, of the brand, of the quality of the juice, how it's perceived, and maybe if the non-alcoholic product just doesn't add value, maybe it can take value. So that's that risk where maybe what if it doesn't come out well? How have you seen, what is a good way to kick off that segment, a soft way to go, or maybe just better to start with a different label, so you're not demonizing your current brand value. Don't even tell anyone that this is yours, and start there. What have you seen smart people doing in protecting their asset, but at the same time getting involved with the category?
Yeah, actually this is a very good aspect also in the category. So I would just like to give an example with beer and spirits, and then go to wine, because this is totally different in like subcategories now. Mostly spirits, yes. One of the pioneers in the spirits is Lyre's, as a startup, and then we became so big, and then they were bought by a big company. We see those examples, small companies, brand owners, they're not producers. They're very successfully launched their brands and then come up with an amazing product. But if you're a producer, let's say if you're an alcoholic producer, then you may want to go with your name or any other name, as you said. For example, in spirits, the big players, Tanqueray, for example, 0.0, they're not afraid of launching with the same brands and going to 0.0 because they know that there is demand. However, obviously, they have much more bigger budgets versus wine. But beer, Heineken 0.0, for example, or even Guinness, same label and launched 0.0 version. But what we see in wine is much more fragmented. There are much smaller brands at the moment. It's more brand driven because the big players, they're kind of scared and they want to wait. So a good example, for example, before I was working in Torres is a family company.
Correct, yeah.
And it's a pioneer in no and low because they launched a non-alcoholic wine in 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, Natureo. But they didn't launch it with Torres name. They knew that the category was growing. There was a possible opportunity. They launched Natureo. And then, but again, they wanted to, I think, maybe play safe. They didn't put their name, but they put their logo underneath. And then it took off really well, and that product sells really well. And then a few years ago, when I was working in Torres, there was a tender in one of the Nordic countries, and then we were going to launch a 0.0. And we said, what are we going to do? Are we going to go with Natureo or not? And we have Sangre Toro. It's a very mature brand from 1954. We said, okay, why don't we launch 0.0 Sangre Toro? So then maybe it can also help us with the dynamic approach of the mature brands. So it was a big success. Then that 0.0 reached a different consumer, and then those consumers helped also the sales of the main brands. So there are very different strategies. I think the key is knowing your consumer and knowing your markets, and then seeing what is missing there. If you think that a really good reputation producers, good quality 00 is missing, then go with your own label. But if you think that there's something else missing, then maybe create a private label for that opportunity.
Okay, so just on that, I mean, what kind of products or opportunities are there? What kind of flavor profiles are popping up? What is consumers saying no to, and what are consumers saying yes to more? So give us some products that people can develop, which you think you are bullish on in 2024 for the 00. You know, any particular types? Like we've done cannabis drinks as well, right? So, you know, but that's been flat as well lately. So. Just throw 3 or 4 types in this that you think people should do more because you're seeing that growing.
So the main, very important thing at the moment, globally, less sugar. Consumer is looking for drier products, but also in terms of they look for less carbs, less calories. And less calories is also a very good sales point. You can even put it on the label. And so this is very important. We try to go away from sugar and what you need to do is to have a good quality product to dealcoholize so that we don't have to rely on the sugar. This is very important. And the second, the consumers, again, are looking for different types of flavors, more adventurous drinks. So what we see also, extracts, herbal extract or tea. Tea is growing a lot, and for example, sparkling tea or dealcoholized wine-based products with tea. And what happens with the tea, we also did some trials there. Tea, the tannins of the tea give complexity to non-alcoholic products and it elongates the finish. So it has a really good touch. So this is growing as well. And also what is really needed at the moment, a good, really non-alcoholized, non-alcoholic red wine, but winey. The consumer is looking for that now. Like they want to enjoy, like have the same experience of having a red wine, but non-alcohol. So at the moment, these are I think the key points, what's happening in the market. Again, the functional beverages, the cannabis. Yes, we have been also doing it a little bit in California, but it is also becoming really important in the UK market. So this is also something to think of with the non-alcoholic part. And also in the functional, not only the cannabis, but electrolytes. Electrolytes are getting important as well because now the consumer is not looking for only non-alcohol or no sugar. They want a benefit. And electrolytes, depending on what type of electrolyte is, it can give you a health benefit. So it's that kind of, the sky is the limit.
Got it. And just on last on the marketing side, what good way to market your product? Like you've been saying 00, zero local, no alcohol. What are the good words that you think have done well in marketing?
Yeah, that is actually, I think, a little bit tricky because depending on, at the moment what we see is depending on the markets, there's so many different verbiage. There's 0, there's low, light, non-alcohol, alcohol-free, dealcoholized, so it's like kind of very confusing and we don't have global regulation for that. Each country's alcohol regulations are different. What is no and what is not is different. But I will go back to the same thing again, depending on the consumer, what the consumer is looking for. If your consumer is clearly looking for 00 or low alcohol, then don't be afraid to make it obvious on the label.
Understood.
But if the consumer is looking for like a good product, or let's say looking for like a champagne, and they want to have the same experience, then not necessarily you have to go like big on the label 00. You can have a really nice packaging, like champagne, and maybe you can mention the alcoholized. There's a few, like there's a brand that I really like. Can I mention brand names?
Of course.
There's a brand that I really like. They are UK-based brands, and in the UK markets plus other markets as well. It's called Zeno, and they have a very clever labeling. Very simple. They are making very clear on the label what type of product it is. Fresh, fruity, this and that, light. And then they say alcohol liberated. So I think it's a very smart way doing it. And another brand that I would like to mention that I really love the branding is called Ish. So they started with spirits first, spirits and ready to drink cocktails. and then they moved to wine. Why is it called ish? Because they have a product called gin ish, rum ish. And their slogan is mindfulness, mindful drinking. So they're not going super hard on 0-0. And the wine part is called Chateau del Ish. So, and their sparkling bottle, wine looks like exactly like in a champagne bottle. And you will have like natural cork, you will have the same experience, but it is Ish sparkling. So when you know the brand, Ish makes non-alcoholic wine or non-alcoholic products, you don't have to be like really very big on the label. So again, depending on your consumer type,
Nice.
and yeah, who are you targeting?
Great. Just to end it, give us a global perspective of markets and which cities or countries or even states in America, let's say, if you have some data, are really growing, the consumer of this category is growing.
Okay, yeah. Last week I was in Wine Future Conference in Portugal, and I was in the same panel with Louis Halsalt, founder of Wine Intelligence and the board member of IWSR. So I have really fresh data from her presentation. At the moment, in 2022, no and low alcohol category globally surpassed 12 billion US dollars. And the expectation in 2023, by 2032, it's going to double, 24 billion US dollars. And also, again, OIB data shows that between 2008 and 2015, wine consumption globally decreased 7%, and every year is continuing decreasing. But no and low alcohol wine is increased. 2.7%. So it's still a small category if you compare it to the old, but it's increasing. And 10 key markets are UK is a very important market, Germany is a very important market, US is very important, and Nordics, because in Nordics, Finland, Norway, Sweden, they're tenders about no and low alcohol. Japan is growing a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know.
Yeah, Japan is growing.
I thought they like drinking.
But Japan, I mean, the consumer type is different as well. In UK, for example, you have abstainers, blenders, switchers. They can consume no and low in the same occasion. But very interesting in Japan, what we see is the abstainers, the non-alcohol drinkers, are increasing. So it's very interesting.
And it's a good to know 4 countries. Is there a data that the category is being consumed by under 35 or under 40, or even everyone? It's equal around all age groups.
So the category actually is driven by younger generation, Gen Z, but it doesn't only entitle Gen Z. Millennials, even baby boomers are trying those products. One of the latest data from IBWSS, they say 58% of millennials, they also drink non-alcohol. But also what we see with the legal age drinking population, X generation is consuming less of non-low products, but Gen Z is consuming much more. So meaning now, new generation legal age drinkers, they prefer to not to drink, or they don't feel like they're obliged to drink because they're 18 or they're 21 in US. So at the moment we don't have like exact data of like which age group is drinking what percentage, but we know that it is more driven by younger generation. So that's why what I always say, especially in the no and low wine, because sometimes wine industry sees these products as a disruption, and they think that it's a replacement of the wine. It is not. But we know that wine consumption is decreasing anyway. So why don't you try to recruit different consumers, younger consumers? Younger consumers is asking for this product, but it doesn't mean that they don't drink alcohol at all. 76% of the no and low consumers, they also drink alcohol. So you can recruit younger consumer with a more different out-of-the-box product, and then those consumers will become wine drinkers in the future. So I think it's an extension of the category. It's not a disruption.
Great. I think a great perspective overall on the category, the markets, the product. Appreciate your time here.
Thank you so much.
Anything else you would want to add?
Thank you so much. It was great to be here with you in the IBWSS UK show. It was great, and I could see that already. Like the focus and the trend is changing, and everyone is talking about no private label sustainability. So it's great what you're doing, and thank you so much for inviting me and for the coffee.